The Earth had begun to resemble itself. Oceans stretched wide, silver blue under skies that no longer raged without pause. Clouds circled in rhythm now, storms roared and then rested, sunlight pierced through to strike the waters in rare, golden flashes. From space, the planet was unmistakably a sphere of blue, swirled with white and shadowed by storm. It looked whole, it looked stable. But looks deceive, for though oceans shimmered and the atmosphere wrapped the world in a protective cloak, the Earth was not at peace, it was restless. It turned beneath a sky still alive with fire, meteors streaking in nightly arcs, comets trailing luminous tails, asteroids blazing through the heavens. The solar system was still young, still crowded with wandering bodies, still unfinished. Every world bore scars, and Earth's scars were deep. Its surface was cracked, reshaped, renewed, scarred again. The oceans, though vast, were restless too, boiling where lava spilled into their depths, steaming where fire rose from the sea floor. The Earth was alive, but it was unsettled. And somewhere in its orbit, another body moved. A world not much smaller than Mars, traveling its path with silent inevitability. Its name, given only long after, was Theia. Theia circled the sun as Earth did, their paths woven like threads, pulling closer with every age. It was not yet time, not yet the moment, but it was coming. The two worlds, bound by gravity, would one day meet, and when they did, neither would ever be the same. But before that moment, the Earth lived in restlessness. The seas stretched wide, but they did not rest. Waves crashed endlessly under storm winds, rolling across coasts newly born of cooled lava. Rain fell often, not in the relentless torrents of earlier ages, but still with weight, still with persistence. Thunder rolled, lightning cracked, and the surface of the oceans shimmered with silver fire. Where rivers carved into the crust, they ran steaming and shallow, their channels fresh with every flood. Basins filled, emptied, and filled again. The waters lingered longer now, but they were not yet calm. They were still sculptors, carving the world drop by drop, storm by storm. And into these seas fell visitors from the void. Meteorites struck often, sometimes small, a flash across the night, a hiss as they struck the waves and vanished. Sometimes large, great stones the size of mountains, crashing into the oceans with force that sent waves circling the globe. Each impact scarred the surface, boiled the waters, filled the skies with vapor. The seas endured, but they remembered. Earth's crust was thin still, its mantle restless. Volcanoes roared across continents, islands, and ocean floors. They belched steam and ash into the skies, poured rivers of lava into the seas, built new land on fire. Some islands lasted only days before waves claimed them, others endured centuries before collapsing. Each eruption reshaped the horizon, painting the air in red and gold. Where lava met the ocean, steam rose in colossal plumes, twisting into the clouds above. The sea boiled, hissed, parted for fire, then reclaimed it in waves. The Earth wore a crown of volcanoes, glowing across its surface like jewels of fire. At night, the heavens themselves were alive with motion. The solar system was still littered with debris, remnants of creation, survivors of collisions, wanderers pulled by gravity. Earth's skies blazed constantly with fire. Meteors streaked across in brilliant arcs, glowing white and gold. Some were small, burning away high above. Others survived to strike the surface, leaving scars in the crust, sending tsunamis across oceans, flinging vapor into the air. From the surface, the sky was never still. Stars glimmered faintly between clouds, but more often they were lost to the glow of fire. Every night was alive with trails of light, every horizon broken by falling stars. The Earth turned beneath a sky that never rested. The world was never silent. Oceans roared with waves, winds howled across coasts, rains drummed on stone, volcanoes bellowed fire, meteors struck with fury. Thunder rolled constantly, lightning cracked endlessly, steam hissed in valleys and along shores. It was a symphony of chaos, but it was a symphony nonetheless. Every sound joined another, water with fire, storm with wave, impact with eruption. If one listened, it was not noise, but rhythm, the rhythm of a world restless, alive, unfinished. Beyond the Earth, the solar system itself was unsettled. The great planets had formed, Jupiter with its bulk of gas, Saturn with its shimmering rings, Uranus and Neptune far in the cold. But the inner system remained crowded. Mercury small and scarred, Venus, a twin of Earth shrouded in haze, Mars red and cooling, and among them dozens of protoplanets and fragments, still drifting, still colliding. It was a cosmic dance without grace, orbits crossing, paths weaving, bodies scattering, and in Earth's neighborhood drifted one world unlike the others. Theia. Theia was nearly the size of Mars, born of the same disk of dust and fire as Earth. It circled the sun in a path that brought it close, again and again, sometimes ahead, sometimes behind, always tugged by Earth's gravity. For millions of years, the two worlds circled together, weaving their orbits like threads of a loom. Sometimes they drifted apart, sometimes they came close, but always the pull remained. Theia was silent. Its crust bore scars of impacts, its core churned, its mantle restless, but it carried within it destiny, a collision that would shape not only Earth, but the entire story of life to come. Earth knew nothing of Theia's approach. It turned beneath its storms, its oceans restless, its volcanoes glowing, its skies alive with falling fire. It endured its restlessness as it always had, reshaping, cooling, carving, enduring. But somewhere in its skies, unseen behind clouds, Theia's orbit crossed again, each time closer, each time more inevitably. The Earth was waiting, unknowingly, for its trial. So the Earth turned, cloaked in oceans, crowned in volcanoes, scarred by meteors, alive with storms. From space it was beautiful, blue seas, white clouds, silver storms, but beneath that beauty it was restless. It had endured dust, endured fire, endured oceans, endured comets. Now it would endure something greater. For Theia was coming, and when it arrived, the world would never be the same. The Earth turned beneath storms, wrapped in oceans, crowned in fire. It had found a rhythm, a fragile balance between water and flame, between chaos and calm. But in the silence of the void beyond, a new story was approaching. Theia. It was not yet a name, not yet an identity. To the Earth it was unseen. To the cosmos it was one of many, a proto-planet, a wanderer of stone and fire, a child of the same dust that birthed every world. But to history, to memory, to destiny, it was singular, for Theia carried within its orbit the moment that would change the Earth forever. Before collision, before fire, before the birth of the moon, there was an approach. Theia's story began as Earth's did. Long ago, when the solar system was only a disk of dust and gas circling the young sun, particles clung to one another, gathered into clumps, pulled by gravity into larger and larger bodies. Some of these became planets, vast enough to sweep their orbits clear, enduring into the future. Others became asteroids, fragments left behind, reminders of chaos. And some, like Theia, were something in between, not as small as fragments, not as vast as the giants. They were worlds in their own right, carrying cores of iron, mantles of rock, crusts scarred by early impacts. They circled the sun in paths crowded with others, sometimes stable, sometimes doomed. Theia was one of these. It was not a fragment, but a planet. A world that might have been, a world with its own destiny, had fate not tied it to Earth. For millions of years, Theia circled the sun in a path not far from Earth's. Sometimes it ran slightly ahead, sometimes slightly behind, sometimes drifting farther, sometimes drawing close. Gravity tugged at it, pulling it inward, outward, sideways. It was not chaos, it was a dance. Theia and Earth circled like companions who never touched but never parted, weaving orbits that crossed but did not collide. But the dance could not last forever. Gravity is patient, but it is merciless. Each pass brought them closer. Each cycle tightened the threads that bound them. One day, the dance would end in a collision. Theia was no barren stone. It was a world alive with fire, its mantle molten, its crust thin and scarred. Volcanoes erupted across its surface, pouring rivers of lava into craters left by impacts. Steam rose into a fragile atmosphere, thin and unstable, stripped often by the sun's wind. Its core churned with iron, heavy and restless. Its mantle glowed with heat, its crust cracked with scars. It was Earth's twin in many ways, smaller but similar, born of the same materials, living the same restless youth. Theia was a planet, and like all planets, it longed for permanence, but permanence was not in its path. The solar system was still crowded. Around Earth and Theia, countless smaller bodies circled. Asteroids, fragments, comets, survivors of collisions, wanderers of gravity. They streaked through the skies, some burning in atmospheres, others striking surfaces, others vanishing into the void. Theia bore scars of many such strikes. Its craters were wide and deep, its surface marked by fire from the skies. Some impacts shattered mountains, others melted plains, others tilted its axis. Every scar was a memory, every crater a story of violence endured. And yet Theia remained, orbiting still, circling Earth in patience. The crowded skies were thinning, as larger worlds swept paths clear, as fragments fell to impacts or were flung into space. But the greatest collision had not yet come. From space, the Earth and Theia were like companions, two spheres turning in the sun's light, both blue-white and red with fire. Earth is larger, clothed in oceans and skies. Theia smaller, drier, scarred. They circled near one another, not close enough to touch, but close enough to feel the pull. Each time their paths crossed, gravity bent them slightly, tugging at orbits, shifting their dance. Sometimes they drifted apart again, sometimes they drew closer, but each pass left its mark. Theia could not escape Earth's pull, and Earth could not escape Theia. Imagine the skies then, seen from Earth. Beyond the storm clouds, beyond the lightning and the endless rain, a new light sometimes appeared. Not a star, not a comet, but a world. Theia glowed faintly against the heavens, a sphere larger than any star, brighter than any planet. It rose and set like a second world in the sky, sometimes faint, sometimes near, sometimes looming vast against the horizon. To Earth's oceans, it was only reflection. To Earth's skies, it was only a wanderer. But to Earth's destiny, it was everything. The nights were not only storms and stars now. They were worlds, Earth turning beneath, Theia circling above, the two bound together by gravity, by fate. Theia's orbit was unstable. It crossed too near, lingered too long, circled too close. Each pass bent its path further, each encounter drew it nearer. The cosmos does not rush, it is patient. For millions of years, the Earth and Theia circled together, never colliding, never parting, always pulled toward the inevitable. The tension built, age by age, orbit by orbit, and then, at last, it became too much. Theia's path bent once more, but this time not to pass. This time it will fall. So Theia approached, slow at first, then faster, pulled by gravity, drawn by fate. The Earth turned beneath its storms, unaware, unknowing, restless as ever. Theia's approach was silent, but it was final. Its orbit is no longer a dance, but a descent. Its path is no longer a circle, but a collision. The Earth had endured fire, had endured oceans, had endured storms, had endured comets, but now it faced something greater. Theia had arrived. And so part II closes with Theia no longer a wanderer, but a falling world, drawn into Earth's destiny. The next chapter will bring part III, a colossal impact, when Earth and Theia collide, remaking the planet in fire and giving birth to the moon. Theia had arrived. For millions of years, it circled the sun alongside Earth, weaving a path of tension and inevitability. Sometimes ahead, sometimes behind, sometimes drifting farther away, sometimes drawing close, but always bound. Orbit after orbit, the pull tightened, the threads drew taut, until at last, gravity demanded its conclusion. Theia no longer danced, it fell. And the Earth, restless and alive beneath its oceans and storms, awaited without knowing. It had endured fire, endured storms, endured comets and chaos, but it had never endured this, for no world can endure such a strike unchanged. This was not an impact, this was a remake. Theia's fall was slow at first. From afar, it drifted inward, its orbit bending closer with every pass, But gravity is merciless. With each moment, its speed grew until its fall was no longer drift, but plunge. Across the heavens it moved, glowing in reflected sunlight, brighter than any star, brighter than the sun in moments of approach. To an ocean beneath stormy clouds, it appeared as a vast disk rising across the horizon, not a light, not a star, but a world. It grew larger each night, filling more of the sky, until it was no longer a visitor, but a looming presence. Theia had become a second Earth in the heavens, a companion not of choice, but of collision. Imagine those final nights. The seas rolled beneath storm clouds, lightning split the skies, volcanoes glowed across horizons, and above it all, Theia loomed, no longer a faint disk, but a sphere vast enough to dominate the heavens. It grew larger each day, closer each night, until the Earth's skies were filled with its presence. Its craters were visible, its glowing mantle glimmered, its scars shone like shadows across its face. Theia was no longer only a wanderer. It was destiny, vast and undeniable, filling the skies. And then, at last, it fell. When Earth and Theia met, it was not gentle. Theia was nearly the size of Mars, a world in its own right, falling at unimaginable speed. Its collision released energy greater than billions of nuclear blasts, greater than all eruptions and impacts before combined. The seas boiled instantly, vaporized into clouds of steam that circled the skies. The crust shattered, splintered, cracked into fragments. Lava oceans were born anew, spreading across the surface in glowing rivers. The atmosphere itself was torn apart, stripped into space, then remade in fire and gas. The Earth shook not for minutes, not for hours, but for days. Its mantle churned, its core shifted, its entire body reformed under the violence. This was not destruction, this was a rebirth. In the aftermath, the Earth was a world of fire once again. The seas had vanished into steam, the crust had shattered, the surface had become an ocean of magma. Mountains crumbled, continents dissolved, islands melted. Everything that had been shaped by water and storm was erased in an instant, replaced by fire. The Earth glowed from space, a molten sphere wrapped in vapor and ash, shining red and gold, turning slowly in the sun's light. It was beautiful, it was terrible, it was a newborn. Theia did not survive. Much of its body merged with Earth, its core sinking into Earth's, its mantle blending with molten seas, but not all of it. Debris exploded outward, blasted into orbit, vast plumes of molten rock and vapor circling the Earth in fiery arcs. From space, Earth was no longer only a sphere, but a sphere with a glowing halo, a ring of fire, molten fragments trailing light as they circled. Some of these fragments fell back, striking Earth again, adding to the chaos. But many remained, orbiting, gathering, pulled together by gravity into a glowing river of debris. It was the beginning of the moon. On the surface, there was no stillness. Lava surged in oceans, skies burned with fire, meteors of debris fell constantly, raining molten rock upon molten seas. Where once oceans shimmered, now magma rolled. Where once storms circled, now firestorms filled the skies, ash glowing in the red light of lava. The air was unbreathable, thick with vapor, glowing with heat. The horizon glowed brighter than the sun, fire on every side, fragments falling in endless rain. The Earth was not only remade, it was unrecognizable. Had one stood upon Theia in its final moments, the Earth would have filled the sky, vast and blue, alive with oceans and clouds. Each moment of approach would have made it larger, until the horizon itself was Earth. And then impact. No time, no pause, only fire. The surface of Theia shattered, its core driven downward, its mantle blasted outward. From Theia's body came the moon, though not yet formed, not yet whole. Theia's identity dissolved into Earth's, its fragments scattering into orbit, its legacy forever bound to the planet it struck. For days, for weeks, the Earth glowed with fire. The impact had ended, but its echoes remained. Lava rolled, steam circled, fragments rained. The skies were heavy with ash, glowing faintly red, the ground alive with magma seas. The silence after was not silence at all, but chaos slowed. A world remade, scarred but alive, molten but enduring. Theia was gone but not lost. It had become part of Earth, part of its core, part of its mantle, part of its orbit. And above, in the glowing ring of debris, it lingered still. So the Earth turned once more, but not as it had before. Its surface was fire, its skies were ash, its oceans were gone. But in orbit, a ring of molten fragments circled, glowing in the sun's light, promising something new. The Earth had been struck by a world. It had been remade by a collision. It had lost Theia, but gained a companion yet unborn. The Earth's restlessness had reached its climax, and from that climax would come permanence. And so part III closes with Earth glowing molten and wrapped in a halo of fire, a world remade by collision, awaiting the slow birth of the moon from the debris that circled above. The next chapter will bring part IV, oceans of magma. When Earth's surface becomes a glowing sea, its crust melted, its skies boiling, its identity transformed once more. Theia was gone. Its body had shattered against the Earth, merging, dissolving, scattering. Much of it had sunk into the Earth's depths, its iron core sinking into Earth's own, its rocky mantle blending into oceans of molten stone. The rest had been cast into space, fragments of fire and rock orbiting in a glowing ring, circling endlessly above. The Earth was no longer the planet it had been. Its seas were gone, vaporized into clouds. Its crust was shattered, melted, dissolved. Its skies were thick with vapor and ash, glowing red and gold. And its surface, its entire surface, was magma. This was no longer a planet of oceans and storms. It was a planet of fire. From space, the Earth was a vision of chaos. A sphere glowing with heat, its surface liquid, red and orange molten stone rolling like waves upon an endless ocean. Clouds of vapor and ash swirled above, glowing faintly with the fire beneath. Around it circled a halo of debris, fragments of Theia and Earth together, glowing arcs of molten rock trailing light as they orbited. Some fragments fell back, striking the surface in showers of fire. Others remained, circling, waiting for gravity to gather them. The Earth glowed like a star, radiant in its molten fury. The crust was gone. Where once there had been land and sea, there was now only a global ocean of lava. It rolled in currents, waves of molten stone, its surface cracking and closing, surging and flowing. Volcanoes no longer stood apart, for all were volcanoes now. The mantle lay bare, molten and unbroken, pouring outward endlessly. The oceans of water were vapor, the oceans of stone were real. The Earth was magma through and through. Above, the skies were alive with light. Meteors still fell, fragments of Theia raining back from orbit, streaking through the skies as fireballs, striking the magma seas with blinding flashes. Each impact sent waves of molten stone rolling outward, glowing rivers across the surface. Steam rose in towers, clouds churned, lightning flashed within their depths. The air was heavy with ash, thick with vapor, alive with storms. But these were no longer storms of water, they were storms of fire. The Earth exhaled through vents and fissures, sending gas and steam upward in colossal plumes. Sulfur, carbon, vapor, the breath of the mantle poured into the skies. The atmosphere thickened again, rebuilt from the breath of the Earth itself. It glowed red in the light of magma, dense and heavy, filled with storm. The planet was remaking not only its surface, but its skies. At night, the world glowed as brightly as day. The magma seas shimmered red and orange, glowing across horizons, lighting the skies with heat. Above, the debris ring shimmered, fragments glowing as they circled, streaks of fire trailing through the heavens. Meteors fell constantly, their flashes lighting the skies, their impacts roaring across the magma seas. The Earth's nights were no longer dark, they were on fire. There were no waves, no rivers, no seas, only magma. The silence of water was gone, replaced by the roar of molten stone. And yet, in that silence, there was promise, for the oceans of fire would not last forever. They would cool, they would harden, they would form a crust once more. The Earth was molten, but not doomed. It was remaking itself as it always had. Above the molten Earth, the halo of fragments circled. Some collided with one another, breaking apart, others merged, growing larger. Gravity worked patiently, gathering, shaping, pulling. From chaos, order began to emerge. The fragments no longer circled aimlessly. They were beginning to gather, to cluster, to build something new. The moon was not yet born, but its cradle was ready. The impact had released unimaginable energy, enough to melt the surface, to vaporize oceans, to strip the atmosphere. That heat lingered, trapped in the mantle, radiating outward slowly. For millions of years, the Earth would remain molten, glowing, restless. Cooling would come, but only with patience. The planet had time, it would endure. So the Earth turned, glowing with fire, wrapped in storm, circled by a halo of fragments. Its seas were gone, its crust melted, its skis rebuilt. It was not the planet it had been. It was a planet remade, forged in collision, reshaped in fire. And above it, in orbit, the first outlines of its companion began to form. So the Earth became what it had always been destined to be, not only a planet of water, not only a planet of fire, but both, in turns, in cycles. Now it was fire, molten and glowing, oceans of magma rolling endlessly. But in time it would cool, it would harden, it would balance. For this was the story of Earth, to endure, to transform, to remake itself again and again. And this was only the beginning. And so part IV closes with Earth glowing as a molten sphere, its surface an endless ocean of magma, its skis alive with fire, its orbit circled by fragments of Theia. The next chapter will bring part V, a ring of fire, when that halo of debris becomes a glowing ring encircling Earth, the cradle of the moon. The Earth glowed molten, its surface an ocean of fire. Lava rolled in endless waves, continents dissolved, islands melted. Steam rose in columns, clouds swirled thick with ash, lightning cracked across the skis. It was a world undone, remade in fire. But above this world, in the silence of space, something even more astonishing had formed. A ring. Molten rock, shattered stone, and glowing dust circled the Earth in a blazing halo. Fragments of Theia, fragments of Earth, fragments of their collision. Some pieces were no larger than grains of sand, others the size of mountains. Together, they formed a river of fire, orbiting endlessly, glowing in the sunlight, shimmering against the blackness of space. The Earth was not alone now, it wore a crown of fire. The impact had hurled trillions of tons of molten rock into space. At first, the fragments arced outward, glowing trails of fire streaming from the planet. Many fell back quickly, striking the magma seas in showers of molten rain. But many remained aloft, circling, caught between Earth's gravity and their own momentum. The result was a halo, a ring of debris that encircled the planet, glowing like a second sun in the sky. From space, Earth appeared not as a solitary sphere, but as a sphere wrapped in light. Its molten surface glowed red and gold, its skis swirled in gray and silver, and above it, a luminous ring circled, brilliant against the void. The Earth had gained a crown, forged in impact, radiant in fire. The debris ring was not still. Fragments collided constantly, breaking apart, merging, scattering. Each collision sent new arcs of molten rock spiraling, glowing trails across the ring. Sparks of light flashed endlessly, like fireflies in the heavens, like stars born anew. Some fragments vaporized into clouds of glowing dust, spreading in luminous bands. Others melted together, forming larger bodies, glowing brighter as they cooled. It was chaos, but it was ordered chaos. Gravity held the fragments in orbit, binding them together, forcing them into a circle. What had begun as an explosion was becoming a ring. From the surface of Earth, the view was astonishing. The skis were thick with ash, glowing red from the magma below, but through gaps in the clouds, the ring could be seen. It stretched across the heavens like a band of fire, glowing brighter than the stars, brighter even than the sun at times. Its fragments shimmered, its dust glowed, its arcs streaked in endless motion. For nights and days, It burned above the molten seas, a constant crown upon the world. To an earth without eyes, it was unseen, but to my imagination, it was breathtaking. The ring was not silent. Each fragment that collided rang with energy, each impact echoed across the heavens. Waves of debris spread outward, invisible but real, rippling through the orbit like sound through air. If the Earth had ears, it would have heard the song of its crown, the constant chime of collisions, the endless rhythm of fragments merging, breaking, scattering. The ring was on fire, but it was also music. As the debris circled, it cast shadows upon the Earth below. Great arcs of rock passed before the sun, their trails blotting light, their dust scattering rays. The molten seas shimmered beneath shifting bands of shadow and glow, their surfaces reflecting the ring's light in restless patterns. The Earth glowed from within, but it also glowed from above. It was a planet illuminated by its own crown. Though the ring seemed chaotic, gravity was patient. Slowly, it pulled fragments together. Smaller pieces clung to larger ones, dust settled into clumps, clumps merged into stones, stones into boulders, boulders into bodies. The collisions continued, but order was emerging. The ring was not merely a halo of chaos, it was a cradle. And within that cradle, something new was forming. The moon was not yet born, but its beginnings were here. Among the fragments, bodies grew larger, pulling in smaller pieces, sweeping paths through the ring. They circled together, colliding, merging, reshaping. At first there were many, a swarm of small moons, glowing and colliding endlessly. But gravity does not tolerate many. One by one they fell back to Earth, one by one they shattered, one by one they merged. In time there would be only one body to claim the fragments, one body to endure, one body to remain. But for now, the moon was a dream in the debris. From the void, Earth was no longer a solitary sphere. It was a planet with a crown glowing molten, circled by fire. The sun lit it in gold, the ring shimmered in silver, the planet glowed in red. Clouds swirled, lightning flashed, meteors rained, and above it all, the halo circled endlessly. The Earth was not only remade, it was adorned. So the Earth turned, its surface molten, its skies storming, its crown circling. The impact had been destroyed, but it had also been created. Theia was gone, but not lost. Its fragments circled still, glowing in orbit, destined to merge, destined to endure. The Earth had gained not only scars, but a companion. Not yet whole, not yet born, but promised in every fragment, written in every orbit. The moon was coming. And so Part V closes with Earth crowned in a glowing halo of fire, a ring of molten debris circling above, the cradle from which the moon will rise. The next chapter will bring Part VI, the dance of debris, when the fragments collide, merge, and slowly begin to form a single sphere. The Earth turned below, glowing molten, its seas gone, its crust dissolved, its skies thick with fire and steam. But above the planet, the greater story continued. A halo of fragments circled endlessly, molten rivers of stone, glowing arcs of dust, shards of Theia and Earth. The ring was not quiet, not still. It was alive, shifting, colliding, scattering. And yet, though chaotic, it was not without purpose. Gravity pulled at every fragment, tugged at every grain, drew them together in patience. The Earth wore a crown, but it was not only fire. It was a promise, for within this crown, the moon was waiting to be born. The ring was vast. Fragments circled the Earth at incredible speed, some close, some farther, forming a band of debris thousands of kilometers wide. From Earth's surface, it appeared as a glowing stripe across the heavens, brighter than any constellation, thicker than any cloud. Each fragment moved with its own rhythm, but together they formed a river, a current of stone flowing around the world, endless, luminous. Within that river, collisions were constant. Fragments struck one another with sharp flashes, melted into droplets of fire, or shattered into smaller pieces. Every moment reshaped the ring. It was chaotic, but it was also choreography. Collisions lit the ring like stars. Every impact glowed, every strike scattered sparks of molten rock. The halo flashed constantly, glittering against the blackness of space, as though 1,000 suns were born and extinguished every moment. Some fragments shattered, scattering dust across the ring. Others melted together, merging into larger bodies, their surfaces glowing with heat. Each collision seemed like destruction, but together they were creations. Over time, the fragments began to grow. Dust clung to dust, droplets clung to droplets, boulders clung to boulders. Each collision that did not shatter created something larger, something stronger. The ring was no longer only a river of shards. It was becoming a nursery of worlds. Small bodies formed within it, clusters of rock glowing as they spun, fragments gathered into orbs. At first there were many, dozens, hundreds, thousands of tiny moons, circling, colliding, merging. The ring became a swarm of luminous bodies, each pulling at the others, each carving a path through the debris. But gravity favors one, and slowly, among the swarm, some grew larger than the rest. The Earth was circled by a cloud of proto-moons, each glowing, each unstable. They danced around one another, collided, shattered, merged. Their orbits shifted constantly, some spiraling inward to fall back to Earth in showers of fire, others flung outward into the void. It was a storm of worlds, a dance of chaos. But within that dance, one body grew steadily larger. One body survived collisions, pulled others into its orbit, claimed more fragments than the rest. The moon was beginning to emerge. Gravity is slow, but it is merciless. Day by day, orbit by orbit, it gathered fragments together. Smaller bodies fell into larger ones, dust clung to their surfaces, molten rock cooled into crusts. The ring grew thinner as fragments merged, thicker where larger bodies gathered. The swarm dwindled as collisions merged them into fewer, larger spheres. And always, one grew more than the others. Slowly, patiently, the moon began to take shape. The newborn moon was not cold. It glowed with magma, its surface molten, its body restless. Impacts scarred it constantly, reshaping its face, sending plumes of fire into the orbit around it. From Earth's surface, it appeared as a glowing sphere rising from the ring, brighter than any other fragment, larger than any other body. It grew night by night, orbit by orbit, until it became unmistakable. The moon was not yet whole, but it was real. For a time, the Earth's skies were filled with moons, some small, some large, some glowing, some faint. They circled together, danced together, collided and shattered in fiery showers. The Earth had no single companion then. It had many, but one by one, the smaller ones fell or merged until only one remained. The Earth had gained a companion, fragile still, glowing still, but destined to endure. The dance of debris slowed as gravity found order. The ring thinned, collisions lessened, fragments merged into the growing moon. What had once been chaos became orbit. What had once been fire became form. The Earth's crown was fading. Its halo of debris was becoming a sphere. Theia's fragments, once scattered, were gathering into permanence. The moon was born in patience, in collision, in fire. So the Earth turned, glowing with magma, crowned in fragments, circled by a growing companion. The ring of fire that had encircled it was no longer only chaos, it was a creation. The dance of debris had given the planet a partner, a mirror, a companion of stone. The moon was no longer only a promise, it was real. And so part VI closes with Earth still molten, but circled now by a glowing, forming moon, a body born from the fragments of collision, a companion destined to endure for billions of years. The next chapter will bring part VII, birth of a sphere, when the fragments merge fully into a single molten moon, glowing beside Earth in its earliest nights. The Earth glowed molten, its surface an endless ocean of fire. Above it, the halo of fragments circled still, glowing arcs of stone, molten droplets, shattered mountains from the body of Theia. For ages the ring had danced in chaos, fragments colliding, merging, shattering again. But gravity is patient, gravity is relentless. And now the chaos is ending. The fragments no longer drifted aimlessly. They had begun to gather, to merge, to cluster into something larger. The collisions no longer scattered endlessly, they built. From the ring of fire, a single body was emerging. The moon was being born. It began quietly. Small clumps of rock pulled together, drawn by their shared gravity. Dust settled on their surfaces, droplets of magma clung and merged. Each orbit brought them close to others, until they collided, shattered, or merged again. The process was endless, patient, unstoppable. From hundreds of fragments came dozens of bodies, from dozens came a handful, and from the handful came one that grew larger than the rest. The moon was not sudden, it was patient. It was gravity at work, shaping chaos into order, fragments into form. The newborn moon glowed with fire. Its surface was molten, seas of magma rolling endlessly, impact scarred its face even as it formed. It shimmered in red and gold, glowing brighter than the stars, second only to the Earth itself. From space, the Earth and moon glowed together, a double world of fire, a pair of molten spheres bound in orbit. The Earth is larger, oceans of magma covering its face. The moon is smaller, glowing beside it, circling slowly outward with each orbit. The solar system had gained a new sight, a planet with a companion. From the surface of Earth, through the thick clouds of steam and ash, the moon could sometimes be glimpsed. It was vast, glowing red with molten seas, brighter than anything else in the heavens. It rose like a second sun, casting light across the magma oceans, its glow reflected in rivers of lava, its crimson fire mirrored in storms above. The nights were no longer only storms and meteors. They were nights of crimson light, of Earth and moon together, both glowing, both new. The moon orbited close, so close it filled much of the sky. Its pull tugged at Earth's molten seas, raising tides of magma, waves that rolled across the glowing surface. The Earth pulled at the moon as well, stretching it, shaping it, locking their fates together. In their first embrace, the planet and satellite became bound for eternity. Neither would ever be alone again. The moon's surface was scarred from the beginning. Collisions with fragments that had not yet merged left craters, gouges, molten basins. Each impact sent fire spraying outward, each scar a memory of the dance of debris. Its face was never smooth, never unmarked. From its first moments, the moon bore the history of its birth, scars that would never fade, features that would endure for billions of years. Even as it cooled, even as its magma seas began to harden, those scars remained. The moon was born wounded, and those wounds became its face. Together, Earth and moon glowed in the darkness of space. Two spheres of fire, orbiting, bound, reflecting one another's light. From afar, they were unmistakable, a planet and its companion, both new, both molten, both alive with energy. Their glow outshone the stars, their presence transformed the night. The solar system had gained not only Earth, but Earth and moon, a pair, a partnership, a balance. The moon rose higher in the sky each night, its orbit pulling it slowly outward. At first it loomed vast, filling horizons, dominating the heavens, but with time it drifted farther, smaller, and more steady. Yet always it remained, circling, reflecting, enduring. The Earth was no longer solitary. It had gained a companion, a mirror, a partner. Theia was gone, but Theia remained, transformed, reborn, risen as the moon. The chaos of fragments had ended. The dance of debris was over. The halo of fire had become a sphere. The moon was not only a body of stone, it was permanence, stability, endurance. It would steady Earth's axis, slow its spin, shape its tides, and light its nights. From chaos, order, from impact, creation, from loss, gift. The moon was born. So the Earth turned, glowing with magma, crowned no longer in fragments, but in a single companion. The ring of fire had become a world. The dance of debris had ended in a sphere. The moon had risen beside Earth, glowing molten, scarred but enduring, destined to remain forever. The Earth was no longer alone. And so part VII closes with the moon newly formed, circling the Earth in molten fire, a sphere born from chaos, a companion born from collision. The next chapter will bring part VIII, a red moon rising, when the young molten moon glows crimson in Earth's skies, illuminating nights of fire with its restless light. The moon was born. The dance of debris had ended, the fragments had merged, and from the halo of fire circling Earth, a single body emerged, molten, glowing, scarred, alive. It orbited close, impossibly close, so vast in Earth's skies that it dominated the horizon. There was no distant light, no faint reflection. It was a second world rising above the oceans of magma. And it glowed. The moon was not cold, not grey, not silent. It was red, crimson seas of lava shimmering across its surface, glowing brighter than any star, second only to Earth itself. It rose in molten fire, filling the heavens with a new light. A red moon had risen over the Earth. The Earth was still molten, oceans of magma rolling, skies thick with steam and ash. Lightning cracked across clouds, meteors rained from the remnants of the ring, volcanoes bellowed across the surface. But above it all, the moon hung, glowing crimson, a molten twin to the molten Earth. Together they lit the void, a pair of fiery spheres bound by gravity, turning endlessly around one another. The Earth was no longer alone. It had gained a companion, and its companion was fire. The nights were unrecognizable. The moon filled the heavens, vast and luminous, casting a crimson glow across Earth's molten seas. Its light reflected on the magma below, shimmering in waves, turning every horizon red. Storms glowed under its light, clouds lit crimson, lightning flashing within their depths. The skies were fire, the seas were fire, and above it all the moon glowed red. The Earth's nights were no longer dark, they were molten. The moon's pull was immense. Orbiting so close, its gravity tugged at Earth's surface, raising tides not of water, for the seas were gone, but of magma. The molten Earth heaved under its pull, waves of lava rolling across the surface, crusts cracking, fissures opening, mountains sinking and rising. The Earth's spin slowed under the moon's grip, its days lengthening, its rhythm shifting. Theia's legacy was not only a companion, it was tides, cycles, balance. The moon's surface was restless. Lava seas rolled across it, glowing red, scarred by impacts from the last fragments of debris. Each strike carved craters, sent plumes of molten rock into space, scarred its young face. But even as it was wounded, it endured. It was smaller than Earth, but strong, stable, permanent. Its molten seas would cool, its scars would harden, its surface would remain. From the beginning, the moon was a world of scars. From the Earth's molten seas, the moon's glow was reflected endlessly. Lava waves mirrored its crimson light, horizons shimmered with its glow, clouds carried its color. It was as if the Earth and moon gazed upon one another, each reflecting the other's fire, each glowing in the other's light. The Earth had gained a mirror, and in that mirror it saw its own molten face. The skies were no longer only storms and meteors, they were transformed by the moon. The great crimson sphere dominated every horizon, rising vast and setting vast, never distant, never faint. It was constant, it was permanent, it was overwhelming. The moon had given the Earth more than light, it had given it identity. The moon's orbit pulled steadily outward, even then, slowly drifting farther with each turn. But in its youth it was close, so close its pull reshaped the Earth itself. The Earth's tilt steadied under its gravity, its spin slowed, its chaos softened. The moon had brought fire, but it had also brought balance. From its first nights, it was not only a companion, it was a protector. So the Earth turned, glowing molten, crowned in clouds, circled by meteors. And above it rose the moon, crimson, scarred, molten, vast. It lit the nights in red, pulled the seas of magma, steadied the planet's spin. It was born of chaos, but it gave order. It was born of fire, but it gave balance. The Earth was no longer solitary, it was a world of two. So the moon rose, again and again, its crimson glow unbroken, its presence eternal. Nights were no longer only storms, they were fire and light, balance and reflection, Earth and moon together. The red moon was young, but it was permanent. Its glow lit the world, its pull steadied the planet, its presence transformed history. The earth had gained a companion, and the heavens had gained a pair. And so part VIII closes with Earth no longer solitary, but bound to its molten companion, a red moon rising, glowing above oceans of magma, the first nights of a partnership that would endure forever. The next chapter will bring part IX, Tides of Fire, when the moon's pull deepens, Earth's molten seas surge, and the first rhythms of tides are born. The moon had risen. Crimson and molten, it circled the Earth closely, vast in the skies, its glow casting nights of fire across the world below. The Earth, too, was molten, its surface an endless sea of magma, rolling, glowing, steaming. Two fiery worlds turned together, bound by gravity, reflecting one another's light. But their bond was not only light, it was pulled. The moon tugged at Earth's molten seas, raising waves of lava that surged across the surface. The Earth, vast and molten, heaved under its companion's gravity. For the first time, the planet knew tides. They were not tides of water, not yet. They were tides of fire. The moon orbited close, so close it filled half the sky, so close its gravity was immense. Every moment it tugged at Earth's surface, pulling magma upward, raising mountains of molten stone, then releasing them as it circled. The molten Earth flexed and bent beneath its pull. Waves of lava surged across the surface, cracks opened and closed, volcanoes roared in rhythm with the orbit above. The moon's gravity was relentless, and the Earth's surface was its ocean. The magma seas were restless already, rolling with heat, glowing with fire. But under the moon's pull they became waves, tides that rose and fell with its orbit. Great swells of molten stone rose hundreds of meters high, surging across valleys of fire, crashing into mountains of lava. Rivers of magma shifted course, basins filled and emptied, fissures widened and narrowed. The tides reshaped the molten Earth, carving patterns into its surface, forging cycles where chaos had reigned. Volcanoes roared in answer to the moon's pull. As tides of fire rose, pressure built within the mantle, forcing eruptions higher, faster, brighter. As tides fell, the pressure eased, eruptions slowed. The Earth's surface had been a storm of fire before. Now it was rhythm. The moon had given the planet a heartbeat, pulsing in fire, measured in orbits. The Earth was learning cycles. At night, the moon's crimson light revealed the tides of fire. Lava seas shimmered under its glow, waves of magma rolling, fissures glowing brighter as they widened under the pull. The moon loomed vast above, its molten face scarred by impacts, its glow reflected in the tides below. Together they created nights of fire, Earth glowing molten red, moon glowing crimson, tides heaving between them. The heavens had gained a dance, and the Earth a rhythm. The moon's pull did more than raise tides. It slowed the Earth itself. Each orbit tugged at the planet's spin, dragging against its momentum, lengthening its days. Once the Earth had spun furiously, days lasting only hours. Now, under the moon's gravity, its spin slowed, its days lengthened. Time itself was reshaped by the tides of fire. The moon had given the Earth not only tides, but rhythm. Not only rhythm, but time. The tides released energy, heat poured into the mantle, magma surged and churned. The Earth reshaped itself constantly, but it was not destroyed, it was balanced. The moon's pull steadied the planet, gave it cycles, gave it patience. For the first time, the Earth was more than chaos. It was balanced in fire, ordered in molten seas. The tides of fire had transformed it. The tides rose and fell endlessly, orbit after orbit, night after night. Lava seas heaved in patience, volcanoes erupted in rhythm, the Earth spun more slowly. These were the first rhythms of the Earth. They were not yet seasons, not yet years, not yet tides of water. They were tides of fire, the earliest cycles of the planet's body. Time had found a measure. From space, the sight was breathtaking. The Earth glowed with oceans of magma, tides of fire rolling endlessly, clouds of steam and ash circling above. Beside it, the moon glowed crimson, molten seas shimmering across its surface, circling endlessly, pulling, steadying, balancing. It was not Earth alone, not Moon alone. It was Earth and Moon together, bound in light and gravity, orbit and rhythm. The universe had gained a partnership. So the Earth turned, its magma seas heaving, its volcanoes roaring, its crust flexing under the pull of its companion. The moon circled close, glowing crimson, its gravity tugging endlessly, shaping tides, slowing the spin, bringing rhythm. The Earth was no longer only chaos. It was a cycle, it was tides, it was time. The moon had risen, and with it, the tides of fire. And so Part IX closes with the Earth no longer only molten chaos, but a planet shaped by rhythm, by tides, by balance. The next chapter will bring Part X, the stabilizing companion, when the moon begins to steady Earth's tilt, giving the planet the long-term balance that will make life possible. The moon had risen, crimson and molten, vast in Earth's skis. It pulled at the oceans of magma below, raising tides of fire, slowing the planet's furious spin. It gave Earth its first rhythms, its first cycles, its first measure of time. But its influence went deeper than tides and spin. The moon steadied the Earth itself. Before the moon, the Earth spun wildly. Its axis, the invisible pole around which it turned, tilted erratically, pushed and pulled by the sun, by other planets, by the chaos of impacts. Its tilt shifted often, sending climates into extremes, storms into chaos, balance into uncertainty. It was a world without anchor. The Earth turned restlessly, wobbling on its axis, unpredictable, unstable. Without steadiness, no climate could endure, no cycles could stabilize. But the moon had come. The moon's pull was not only upon seas of magma, it was upon the whole planet. Its gravity tugged at Earth's bulge, at its spin, at its tilt. Slowly, steadily, the moon's orbit locked Earth's axis in place. It anchored the tilt, steadied the spin, smoothed the wobble. What had once been chaotic became stable. What had once shifted constantly became measured. The Earth had found its anchor in the sky. The change was not instant. The Earth still spun, still wobbled, still tilted. But the moon pulled with every orbit, every tide, every night. The Earth's axis grew steady, its tilt held firm, its rhythms steadier. The nights reflected this new balance. Storms still raged, magma still rolled, meteors still fell. But the skis above were constant, the moon rising, the moon setting, always there, always pulling. The Earth was learning constantly. The moon's orbit drifted slowly outward, its pull lessening in intensity but not in effect. The Earth spun more slowly now, its days lengthening from hours to longer spans. With each lengthened day came stability, with each slowed spin came balance. The Earth's climate, once chaotic, began to find patterns. Storms followed cycles, winds followed tides, rains followed rhythms. The moon had given the Earth an anchor. From space, the sight was unmatched. The Earth glowed molten still, lava seas rolling, clouds circling, storms flashing. Beside it orbited the moon, crimson and molten, glowing, scarred but steady. Together they turned, bound by gravity, reflections of one another's fire. But beneath the fire was something greater, balance. The Earth no longer spun alone, no longer tilted unsteadily. Its axis was steadied, its path anchored. From chaos, constancy. The moon's gift was not yet complete. The Earth was still molten, its seas of fire restless, its skis heavy with ash. But the foundation had been laid. The tilt would not wander as it once had. The days would not shorten as they once had. The tides would not vanish. The Earth had been given stability, and stability is the promise of life. Without the moon, the Earth might have wobbled forever, its climates wild, its storms unending. With the moon, it had constancy, rhythm, and anchor. It had a chance to endure. The moon was not temporary. It would not fall, would not vanish, would not depart. It was bound to the Earth as surely as the Earth was bound to it. It circled endlessly, orbit after orbit, night after night, pulling, steadying, balancing. Its presence was permanent, its influence eternal. The Earth had gained a companion not for a time, but for all time. From this moment onward, Earth was not one world, but two. Earth and Moon, bound together, orbiting, turning, balancing one another. The Earth gave the Moon its orbit, its light, its reflection. The Moon gave the Earth its tides, its cycles, its stability. It was no longer a solitary planet. It was a partnership, a pair, a balance. So the Earth turned, its molten seas glowing, its skies storming, its surface restless. And above it circled the Moon, crimson and molten, glowing in the heavens. It pulled at the tides, it steadied the spin, it anchored the tilt. It gave the Earth rhythm, cycles, balance. It gave the Earth stability. The Earth had found its companion, its anchor, its stabilizer. The Moon had risen not only as fire, but as a gift. And so Part X closes with the Earth no longer wobbling aimlessly, but steadied by its companion. The Moon had become more than a scar of impact. It had become Earth's stabilizer, its partner, its guardian. The next chapter will bring Part XI, the cooling of two worlds, when both Earth and Moon begin to shed their molten glow, hardening, cooling, and settling into the forms they will carry into deep time. The Earth still glowed. Its surface was molten, an endless sea of magma rolling in tides of fire. The Moon still glowed as well, crimson and scarred, its molten seas shimmering in the blackness of space. Together they lit the void, a double beacon of fire, bound by gravity, turning endlessly. But fire does not last forever. Lava cools, magma hardens, surfaces freeze into stone. Slowly, steadily, patiently, the Earth and Moon began to cool. Their youth of fire was ending, their age of permanence was beginning. The Earth's surface seethed with heat. Rivers of lava flowed endlessly, fissures cracked and widened, volcanoes roared without pause, but the surface was changing. Crust began to form, at first fragile, thin, easily broken by the tides of fire beneath. Sheets of hardened stone floated atop oceans of magma, cracking, sinking, melting, reforming. But each cycle built something new. Crust thickened, endured longer, covered more. Slowly, Earth was gaining skin. It was fragile still, vulnerable to eruption and tide, but it was the beginning of land. The Moon, smaller than Earth, cooled more quickly. Its lava seas shimmered still, glowing red, but the crust began to harden across its surface. Impacts scarred it constantly, meteors carving craters, shattering and melting its crust, but always more crust reformed, more stone endured. The Moon was scarred from birth, but its scars hardened, its molten seas slowly fading into plains of black rock. It was becoming the face we would one day know. From Earth's surface, the skies still glowed. The Moon shone crimson, casting light across magma seas, but night by night its glow dimmed. Its molten fire cooled, its surface darkened, its scars stood out more sharply. The Moon was no longer a molten twin. It was hardening, cooling, fading from crimson to gray. Earth still glowed, but its companion was changing. The nights were losing their crimson fire, gaining shadows, gaining permanence. Cooling was not silence. It was an eruption, collapse, and reshaping. The Earth's crust cracked under pressure, releasing lava in rivers, melting plains, reshaping coasts. But with each eruption came a new crust, thicker, stronger, harder. The Moon's surface cracked and froze, magma seas hardening into plains, craters scarring its face permanently. Its glow faded, but its scars endured. The cooling was chaotic, but chaos was creation. As Earth cooled, basins formed, some filled with magma, glowing lakes of fire. Others hardened into stone, craters that no longer melted, scars that endured. The Moon too bore basins, vast impacts carving plains, filled with lava, then hardened into dark seas. These Maria, as they would one day be called, became its most visible face, scars of fire frozen into permanence. Both Earth and Moon carry scars now, but those scars were the beginning of their identity. Ages passed, the glow of magma dimmed, Earth's surface hardened into crust, broken by eruptions but enduring more each time. Volcanoes still roared, fissures still cracked, but the oceans of magma receded. The moon's glow faded further. Its surface hardened completely, its craters frozen, its molten seas gone. It no longer glowed crimson, it glowed only by the sun's light, reflecting it in silver across the skies. The earth was still molten within, restless with fire, but its surface was gaining permanence. The moon was no longer on fire at all. Together they cooled, earth and moon, their fiery youth fading, their permanence rising. The earth cooled slowly, its mass vast, its mantle still molten, its crust thin and restless. The moon cooled quickly, its body smaller, its surface hardened, its face scarred forever. The earth remained restless, the moon became silent. Together they revealed balance, one alive with fire, one still with stone. As the moon cooled, its crimson glow faded, but it did not vanish, it became silver. Reflecting the sun, the moon shone in pale light across Earth's skies, illuminating nights not with fire, but with calm. Its silver glow fell upon Earth's magma seas, reflecting across lava waves, glimmering faintly against storms. The nights were no longer crimson, they were silver. The moon had given the Earth fire, now it calms me down. So the Earth turned, its molten seas slowly hardening, its crust slowly forming, its storms slowly steadying. The moon orbited above, its molten fire gone, its silver face scarred but permanent, its glow reflected from the sun. The earth was still restless but less molten, the moon was still scarred but hardened, together they had cooled. Their fiery youth was ending, their permanence was beginning. The earth had gained stability, the moon had gained silence, together they had gained endurance. And so part Xi closes with the earth still molten within but hardening without, and the moon cooled into the scarred silver face it would carry forever. The next chapter will bring part Xii, the face of the moon, when its scars, the craters and plains of its violent youth, become permanent, the features that would one day gaze down on Earth forever. The moon had cooled. Its molten glow had faded, its crimson seas hardened, its magma frozen into plains of stone. The impacts that had scarred it in its birth still fell, meteors from the crowded solar system striking its surface, carving craters, gouging scars. But now those scars endured. The moon no longer healed, it no longer melted, no longer remade itself. Each strike left its mark forever. Each crater, each scar, each wound became part of its face. And so, the moon's identity was written in stone. The moon's youth had been violent, born in fire, struck by fragments of Theia and Earth, pummeled by meteors from every corner of the inner solar system. Its surface bore craters the size of mountains, basins the size of seas, each one a scar of impact, each one a memory of chaos. But as the moon cooled, those scars no longer melted away. They hardened, froze, and endured. What had once been chaos became permanence. The moon's face was scarred from the beginning, and those scars became eternal. Some of the moon's largest scars filled with lava in its youth, oceans of magma that poured across basins, shimmering in red and gold. But even those seas cooled, hardened, and froze. They became plains of black stone, vast and dark against the lighter highlands around them. Maria, they would one day be called seas of rock, seas of silence, seas of memory. From Earth, they appeared as dark patches on the moon's face, shapes and patterns that would be seen by every creature that ever gazed upward. The seas of the moon were not water, they were scars of fire, frozen forever. Even as the moon cooled, meteors still struck. Each impact carved new craters, scattered dust, gouged valleys, some shattered plains, others reshaped mountains, others left rings of debris across the surface. But none erased what came before. Each scar joined the others, each crater layered upon the last, each wound added to the moon's growing face. The moon was building not a smooth surface, but a history. The moon had no atmosphere to shield it, no water to heal it, no mantle restless enough to erase its scars. It was silent, still, frozen. And in that silence, every scar endured. Every impact, every crater, every wound remained visible, written across its face. The moon had become memory itself, a record of its birth, of its youth, of the chaos of the early solar system. The moon orbited Earth closely, its rotation locked to its orbit. Slowly, its spin synchronized so that the same face always turned toward Earth. One side of the moon became an eternal companion, gazing down on the planet below. The other side, hidden, endured its scars unseen. But the face turned toward Earth was marked forever with craters, seas, scars. It became the visage Earth would always see, the identity of its companion, the unchanging face of the moon. From Earth's surface, the moon's face became familiar. Its dark seas formed patterns, its craters formed shadows, its scars formed shapes. The molten crimson glow was gone, replaced by silver light, sunlight reflected from stone. But within that silver light lay memories. Every crater, every scar, every dark plane was a story of fire, of impact, of chaos endured. The moon was a mirror of silence, reflecting Earth's skis with the scars of its own history. Unlike Earth, the moon could not erase its wounds. Earth's crust shifted, volcanoes erupted, oceans carved and smoothed, weather reshaped and renewed. But the moon had no such forces. Its surface was static, unchanging. And so its scars became eternal. The face that formed in those early ages was the face that would remain forever. Every creature that would one day gaze upon the moon would see those scars. Every civilization that would rise would look upon its same face. Every story, every myth, every wonder would be shaped by the moon's eternal visage. The moon was no longer only a body of stone. It was an identity. Its face was its being, its scars, its memory, its permanence, its gift. From chaos, it had gained order. From fire, it had gained silence. From scars, it had gained a face. The Earth had gained not only a companion, but a companion with a visage, a face in the heavens, unchanging, eternal. So the Earth turned, its surface cooling, its seas forming again, its storms softening. And above it shone the moon, silver now, scarred, silent, gazing down with the same face always. The moon had given the Earth tides, rhythm, balance. Now it gave it memory, permanence, constancy. It was more than a companion, it was a presence. The moon had a face, and that face was eternal. And so part XII closes with the moon's identity complete. Its scars, its seas, its craters hardened into permanence, its face turned forever toward Earth. The next chapter will bring part XIII, the eternal dance, when Earth and moon settle fully into their partnership, orbit and spin, locked together in the endless rhythm of tides and time. The Earth had cooled enough to wear a crust, though molten fire still churned below. The moon had hardened into silence, its face scarred, its silver light shining from the reflection of the sun. Together, they turned, Earth and moon, planet and companion, bound by gravity, bound by rhythm. Their partnership was no longer chaos, it was permanent. And together, they began the dance that would never end. The Earth pulled the moon pulled the Earth. Their gravity bound them, their orbits tied them, their tides connected them. Each turned around the other, Earth vast and molten, moon smaller but steady, circling endlessly. The moon did not wander anymore. It did not drift in chaos. It circled patiently, orbit by orbit, always pulled, always bound. The Earth no longer spun wildly. Its tilt, once erratic, was anchored. Its spin, once furious, was slowed. The moon had given it patience, rhythm, balance. Together they turned, forever bound. As the orbits continued, the moon's spin slowed under Earth's pull. Day by day, orbit by orbit, it rotated more slowly until its spin matched its orbit perfectly. It became tidally locked. One face turned always toward Earth, the same craters, the same scars, the same seas of stone. The other face, the far side, remained unseen. The Earth would always see the same moon. The moon would always see the same Earth. Their gazes were permanent, locked together across the void. The tides of magma, later tides of water, became constant. The moon pulled them upward, then released them, then pulled again. The earth responded endlessly, waves rolling, crust flexing, mantle heaving. It was rhythm, eternal, unbroken. The earth had been chaos, now it has cycles. The moon had given it a dance, tides rising and falling, days lengthening, nights illuminated. It was not silence, it was music. The earth turned, the moon circled, both orbiting the sun together. Their dance was layered, earth around sun, moon around earth, both together through space. From the void, their paths were intertwined, spirals and circles, orbits within orbits. It was not simple, it was elegant. The earth and moon were not only companions, they were dancers, moving through the cosmos in endless partnership. The crimson glow of the moon's molten youth was gone. Now it shone silver, reflecting the sun, casting pale light upon Earth's surface. Nights were no longer only storms and fire. They were lit by calm, by silver, by the moon. Its light fell across oceans of magma, then oceans of water, across mountains and valleys, across storms and calm. The Earth had gained not only balance, but beauty. The moon gave the Earth silver nights. Though the moon drifted slowly outward, farther with each orbit, its bond did not weaken. Its pull remained, its tides endured, its gaze was unbroken. The earth and moon were locked in an eternal embrace, circling forever, bound beyond separation. The earth would never be without the moon would never be without the earth. This dance was not for days, not for centuries, not for ages, it was for billions of years. From the moment of impact, from the first tides of fire, from the first silver nights, the bond was permanent. No future could undo it, no time could erase it. Earth and moon were joined for the age of the solar system, for as long as either endured. Their dance was eternal. The moon's presence gave Earth more than tides, more than nights of silver. It gave it balance, constancy, endurance. Without the moon, Earth's axis would wobble, its climates would swing wildly, its rhythms would falter. With the moon, the axis was steady, the climate stable, the cycles enduring. The moon had given Earth a gift. No other planet had stability. And with stability came the possibility of life. So the Earth turned, its spin steadied, its tilt anchored, its tides constant. And above it shone the moon, silver now scarred, its face turned always toward Earth. Together they moved through the cosmos, orbit within orbit, cycle within cycle, rhythm upon rhythm. They were not chaotic anymore, they danced, they were permanent. They were Earth and Moon. Forever. And so part XIAI closes with Earth and Moon locked in their eternal partnership, a dance of orbits, tides and time, written across billions of years. The next chapter will bring part XIV, the gift of night, when the moon's silver light transforms Earth's darkness into beauty, inspiring everything that will ever look upward. The Earth turned, no longer only fire, no longer only chaos. Its molten seas were cooling, its crust hardening, its skis clearing. Oceans would return, climates would stabilize, rhythms would deepen, and above it circled the moon, scarred, silver, constant. The moon had steadied Earth's tilt, slowed its spin, carved its tides. It had given balance, given rhythm, given stability, but its greatest gift was still to come. It gave the Earth the night. Not darkness alone, but night filled with light, the soft silver glow of a companion that would never leave. Before the moon, Earth's nights had been chaotic. Storms flashed endlessly, meteors streaked constantly, skis lit only by fire. Between storms, darkness was absolute, broken only by distant stars. It was a darkness deep and endless, without anchor, without constancy. But with the moon, darkness became softer. Night was no longer only the absence of day, it was in the presence of silver. When the moon cooled and reflected the sun's light, the first silver nights began. Its glow spread across Earth's surface, casting shadows, illuminating oceans, glimmering on mountains. The skis were transformed, no longer chaos alone, but calm, quiet beauty. The moon lit Earth's nights with silver fire, a gift as eternal as the tides. The moon became Earth's lamp. It did not blaze like the sun, it did not burn like fire. It glowed softly, steadily, reflecting sunlight in silver beams. Its light was enough to transform the night, to turn darkness into calm, to make shadows dance across oceans and land. It was light that endured, light that never failed, light that returned each cycle. It was constant, it was a presence, it was a gift. The moon's light was not only steady, it was cyclical. It waxed and waned, grew and shrank, vanished and returned. It gave the night its phases, its rhythms, its patterns. From new moon to full, from crescent to gibbous, its light changed but always returned. It gave Earth not only tides of water, but tides of light. The moon had given Earth rhythm in fire. Now it gives rhythm in shadow and silver. With its phases, its seas, its craters, the moon became a face in the sky. Patterns of dark and light formed shapes, illusions, visions. Every gaze from Earth found meaning in its face: animals, people, gods, stories. The moon was not only stone, it was a symbol, a story, a myth. It was a mirror for imagination, a canvas for wonder. It was more than a companion, it was an inspiration. The moon's light cast shadows across Earth's surface, shadows of mountains, shadows of trees, shadows of waves. It gave depth to the night, shape to the darkness, texture to the silence. And with shadows came dreams, for in its silver glow, every creature that would one day gaze upon it would find wonder, curiosity, mystery. The moon turned the night into a dreamscape, a place not only of fear, but of beauty. Unlike storms, unlike seasons, unlike ages, the moon's gift did not end. Every night it returned, every cycle it repeated, every phase it renewed. Its constancy was unmatched, its presence eternal. For billions of years, it would shine upon Earth's surface, casting silver light, inspiring every gaze. The Earth's night had been chaotic, the moon turned it into beauty. Together they moved, Earth and moon, bound by gravity, bound by rhythm, bound by light. Earth with its oceans, its storms, its life to come. The moon with its scars, its silence, its silver glow. They were not two worlds alone. They were a pair, a partnership, a dance. The Earth had gained not only a companion, not only stability, not only tides. It had gained nights of silver, nights of beauty, nights of gift. The moon had given the Earth the night itself. So the Earth turned, days of sun, nights of moon, light and shadow in endless rhythm. Its companion circled above, scarred but constant, silent but enduring, silver but eternal. The moon was more than memory, more than scar, more than tide. It was a gift. It gave the Earth stability, it gave the Earth balance, it gave the Earth the beauty of night. And that gift would endure forever. And so Part XIV closes the saga of moon formation, from collision to fire, from ring to sphere, from crimson seas to silver light. The moon was born of chaos, but it became constant. It was born of destruction, but it became a gift. The Earth had gained its companion, and every night since, it has gazed upon its gift of silver light.